Welcome, true believers, to another episode of Stuck in the Webs by The Beyonders.
This is Richard, and I'm William. And today we're going to be talking about Tom Holland's Spider-Man.
Okay, so I'm going to be a little bit unfair about this. Tom Holland is probably one of my favorite Spider-Man movies. Spider-Man's. Firstly, the way he was introduced. His introduction was kind of shaky at first off in the movie Civil War. I think we should have had a standalone Spider-Man film. Maybe. But
since it was a contract with Sony and Disney for the use of Spider-Man for the MCU, you can't always get what you want.
Right.
So they're already far ahead in the MCU, so now we're just jumping in Spider-Man.
Though, to be fair, they technically added Spider-Man into without adding him in. So back when they did Iron Man 2, they had the little boy with the Iron Man mask who was like holding his hand up against a machine. They decided, we're just going to say that was Peter Parker at the Stark Expo. So technically now we have lore that Spider-Man's been in it since Iron Man 2. But as of Tom Holland's Spider-Man movies, let's focus on those movies.
All right, let's start by Tom Holland as Spider-Man. What's the take? Is he how good? I mean,
second best Spider-Man.
Yeah, probably, because there's a lot of issues with the character, because mostly I guess a lot of fans would notice Peter has always been known to be on his own, always have some kind of financial struggle.
Right.
So being given a handout by Tony Stark, and yes, this was kind of a similar thing in the comics where during the Civil War where he was part of Team Stark and he was given the Iron Spider costume, which they did show in the movie somewhat. I wish it was more comic accurate to the full red and gold, but
right,
you get what you get.
Right, but I mean, aside that, I mean, Tom Holland Spider-Man, and this is the thing with Tom Holland in every movie. I don't know anyone else notices this, but he's super apologetic. It's like he's always saying sorry. I'm like, come on.
I'm fine with that in the very first one. I'll agree. It's a little bit too nice. Well, Spider-Man's always kind of a mockery, kind of like annoys his villains to death almost. And I feel like in the first movie that's perfectly fine because he's new to this. He's new to the whole battling supervillains because he only did small heroisms like stopping the bus and stuff like they showed.
Right.
But as he grows older, I felt like he could have gone away from it a bit more.
Aside that, there's a lot to go into this movie. I kind of like Iron Man's influence on things. Is like for the first two movies, it was Iron Man heavily influenced into the story. Like, first off, this is something that happens in the comics. It's like Stark is always doing something, whether it's intentional or non-intentional, that creates his villains, or creates a villain. And in this case, in the first movie, you have, by the way, one of the best Batman movies ever, Michael Keaton playing the Vulture. He, if it wasn't for what happened with, when Tony Stark created damage control and cleaned up New York after the Avengers incident, Vulture would never be existing. But at the same time,
which is a very good Spider-Man story because most times though in the comic wise, you just replace Tony Stark with the name Norman Osborn and you actually have a perfect Spider-Man story there.
But actually, to be fair, I like the second one better because of Mysterio. Because first off, that's like
again, Tony Stark pissed off Jake Gyllenhaal's Mysterio, Quentin Beck, by using that virtual reality tech and named it Barf.
Right, but what I was getting at is also when I saw the trailers, he's like talking about, I'm from the multiverse, and that I like. You're kidding me, right? It's like
what snake oil are you selling?
Yeah, it's like if you didn't know who Mysterio was, it's like the Master of Illusion, the Master of Lies. I'm like, yeah, I saw this coming from a mile away. But when after the movie came out and everybody's talking about behind the scenes, and even when Jake posted on Twitter about this outfit, it's like, did you spot me in the movie? And I was like, oh my goodness, there's subtle incidents where all the bad guys who are in that
those scientists
are in the background. I'm like, okay,
you go back to where Tom Holland's buying the little jewelry from the shop, and Jake Gyllenhaal is right behind him wearing that floral shirt.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, oh, okay, that's a nice little subtle hint on that one. So
he's there the whole time.
Yeah, it's like, now, can you imagine that movie done up as a VR experience? I mean, that'd be trippy.
Oh, I'd get motion sickness real quick.
But
then next was Spider-Man 3 No Way Home. That one was very good because I liked the whole him and Doctor Strange. It's definitely a different take than science with Stark, and he's finally heading on his way to being his own person.
Yeah.
Though he definitely still had too much Stark tech. In fact, probably more so because this one actually had him using the Iron Spider tech more than any of the others.
Well, he also had a little bit of help of magic in this one.
Yes, that's true.
But
Though I do like the scene where Doctor Strange does the whole astral projection from him, and his body still fights against him. And it's like what? Because of his whole spider senses and reflexes being able to just do stuff, even though he's completely unable to.
Right. So I'm gonna go ahead and backtrack on something about the second one, Far From Home. Is that first off, again, they like to do comic scenes. And I think this is something that most people don't seem to realize, is that when Spider-Man has his final battle against Mysterio, they're on the London Bridge?
Yeah.
Or I can't remember what the name of the bridge is. If it's just the bridge in London, basically. Which is kind of funny because this is his first encounter with Mysterio fighting him. What most people don't realize is that in the comics, Spider-Man's first encounter against Mysterio was on the Brooklyn Bridge. The fact that they recreated it on a
different bridge, though.
Different bridge, but it's like, we're going to have a final battle on a bridge. That's like, okay, I get the reference there. I get the reference you're trying to make.
And I like the introduction, like almost every time, like when Spider-Man first fought Molten Man at the little fair. I think every scene they show a car's license plate, and they always have it like ASM for Amazing Spider-Man. Then they have the number from the issue, and that way they say, "Hey, we're referencing this issue here."
That's true. But the other thing now I'm gonna go say is about Spider-Man. The third Spider-Man is No Way Home. Is I kind of liked how it brought back in Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. Now, in previous episodes, I've talked about how I really like Tobey Maguire, and I've talked about how I really don't care for Andrew Garfield. But I think seeing the three of them in the same movie really works, and it kind of like nice little callbacks to all the different fans of different points.
Yeah, and it's a nice little tie-up for Tobey's and Garfield, both of which movies franchise got canceled because Tobey, I think, won more money, so they canceled Spider-Man 4. And then
That's
Garfield,
That was the rumors about Tobey, but I don't know how true that is.
And then with Garfield, because of the success of MCU and the failure and the not so big reviews for Garfield, they decided to cancel that one. Before they did anything crazy, and then Garfield even points it out, like, I want to fight an alien.
Well, I mean, he may. I mean, there's talks that they want to bring him back.
I mean, Sony owns the right; they can always do it if they want because they've been doing the standalone with other films,
right.
Venom, the Spider-Verse.
As of Tom Holland stuff, it's like I love the behind the scenes stuff as well. It's like which actually I just recently learned this that apparently every Spider-Man has dated the Mary Jane or the love interest of their movie. I'm like, wait, this is like tradition?
Yeah, it's a Spider-Man curse. I don't follow too much into the personal lives of the actors, but yes, apparently it's very true where every actor tries to resist dating their female love interest, but they end up doing so anyways.
I'm going to be very unpopular right now. I don't care for Zendaya as Mary Jane.
She's a fine actress.
She's a fine actress.
But you're right.
For me, I personally like. Let me put it like this: if they were doing older Spider-Man, in that, if they're going to choose someone to play her older, I pick Halle Berry. Halle Berry's attractive, but I don't. But again, they're supposed to be teenagers. Like, what am I talking about? Like, I don't find Zendaya all that attractive.
I just thought the portrayal of the character, like how they wrote the character, because
they wrote her like she was supposed
Mary
to be Gwen
Jane was
Stacy.
Yeah, except a little bit more stiffer, like more than caring for the world. Gwen Stacy was more kind. They made she was very distant. She really couldn't care less about except for her little group of friends. I felt like because they were trying to make her very her own, and I think because there's no real basis for a Mary Jane or love interest like that, I think we're left unknown how you want to feel comparing her to the actual MJ who's been this very
I think the problem is that
involved character.
So much. I think the problem is that as the movie, they're trying to give her from a less supporting role to a more lead role. They're trying to give her a role where she's not just supporting Peter in this case. She's trying to be his equal, which I think I understand why they want to do that, because they're trying to not say, oh, we're not just sideline characters, we're also part of his life. But at the same time, I'm like, yeah, but you don't. I don't
We're here
know.
to see Spider-Man.
Yeah, we're here to see Spider-Man.
Not His Amazing Friends, which 80s show was not very good.
But I think overall the closest statement is Tom Holland as the three Peters, second best. Tobey Maguire, best. Andrew Garfield, sorry, he's on the bottom of my list. Enough said.